Have you ever watched your phone like it's a heartbeat monitor, while the person you care about suddenly becomes a ghost? One
We need to
minute they're
talk about
warm,
this.
attentive,
I know,
even a
it's
little
been on my
jealous,
mind.
then
So what do we
silence.
do?
No explanation, no closure, just that icy, surgical pause that makes you doubt your own worth. Here's the truth most people
is for
don't
you.
say out loud.
It's
Ignoring
beautiful.
is rarely
Thank you.
about not feeling. It's often about feeling too much and not knowing how to hold it without losing control. People ignore for different reasons, but the hidden motive is usually the same: power and protection. Ignoring can be a shield. If I don't show I'm hurt, you can't hurt me again. A test: will you chase me or will you leave? A punishment: now you'll feel what I felt. Or a strategy: I'll make you come to me first. Sometimes it's the only language someone learned in love, especially if they grew up around emotional coldness, criticism, or unpredictable affection. In those cases, ignoring becomes a survival mechanism disguised as pride. What do they want to show by ignoring? Most often, I'm not needy, I'm in control. You don't get access to me whenever you want, or I won't beg. Some signs use silence to regain dignity after feeling rejected. Others use it to force a partner to prove loyalty. And yes, many people hide true feelings behind ignoring. They can be overflowing with longing, but they'd rather vanish than admit, I miss you. It's not maturity, it's fear wearing a crown. Does ignoring test a partner's patience? Absolutely. It tests endurance, devotion, and your ability to tolerate uncertainty. It tries to answer one dangerous question: how much will you tolerate to keep me? And do they want their partner to be the first to show himself? Often yes, because if you reach out first, they don't have to risk rejection. Ignoring is a way to make love safer, by making it colder. But here's the twist: ignoring never builds intimacy. It builds suspense. It creates addiction, not safety. It can work short-term to pull someone closer, but long-term it trains the relationship to survive without warmth. And once love learns to live without warmth, it becomes something else: a habit, a battlefield, or a performance. Below are 7 zodiac signs that most often resort to ignoring in relationships, each for very different reasons. This is not a verdict, it's a map. And if you recognize yourself, don't panic. The stars show patterns, but you choose the ending. 1. Scorpio: the silence as a weapon. Ignore. Scorpio doesn't ignore because they don't care. Scorpio ignores because they care so deeply it scares them. When Scorpio feels uncertain, betrayed, disrespected, or even slightly exposed, they don't run, they go quiet. Their silence is a locked door with a message carved into it: you don't get to see my feelings unless you earn them. For Scorpio, ignoring is control, but it's also protection. If they don't respond, they can't be manipulated. If they don't speak, they won't reveal the softest part of themselves. How Scorpio ignores: they don't do casual silence, they do total disappearance. Messages get left unseen, calls go unanswered. They may still watch everything you post, but they won't give you the satisfaction of knowing it. Scorpio can also ignore loudly, being present physically but emotionally unreachable. Short answers, cold tone, sharp boundaries, a look that says, I know more than you think. Why they do it? Scorpio uses ignoring as a truth detector. They want to see who panics, who lies, who stays, who respects boundaries, who fights fairly. They also use silence as punishment when they feel emotionally wounded. They don't always admit it, but sometimes they want you to feel the emptiness they felt. How it helps them: it gives them time to regain power and emotional clarity. It stops impulsive reactions. It keeps them from begging or softening too quickly. Scorpio believes distance reveals loyalty. How it harms them: it can turn love into interrogation. Their partner may start walking on eggshells, living in fear of the next freeze. Scorpio's ignoring can create a cycle: closeness, fear, silence, chase, temporary reunion, repeat. Over time, even the most devoted partner can burn out. Chances of moving to mutual closeness high if Scorpio learns one key skill: vulnerability without surrender. The moment Scorpio can say, I'm hurt, instead of disappearing, their relationships become unstoppable. Scorpio doesn't need to be less intense, they need to be more direct. What ignoring most often ends with for Scorpio: a dramatic reunion, or a permanent cut. Scorpio doesn't do half breakups. If they decide the trust is broken, they won't argue, they'll erase. 2. Aquarius: the I need space. Ignore. Aquarius can love you and still vanish like a satellite drifting out of range. Their ignoring often isn't meant to punish, it's how they regulate overwhelming emotion. Aquarius gets flooded easily when relationships demand constant reassurance, emotional explanations, or predictable closeness. When it's too much, they detach not because they feel nothing, but because they need air to think. How Aquarius ignores. They reply late. They go busy. They become vague. They change the topic when you try to talk feelings. They may keep the relationship technically alive, liking a post, sending a meme, saying sorry, crazy week, but avoiding deep emotional engagement. Aquarius can also ignore by intellectualizing, turning your pain into a concept instead of comfort. Why they do it? Aquarius fears emotional captivity. They fear being controlled, pressured, or owned. Sometimes they also ignore when they feel misunderstood because they don't want to argue, and they don't want to explain themselves for the 100th time. Their silence is a protest. Let me be myself without emotional surveillance. How it helps them. It prevents emotional overload. It keeps them from saying something cruel in the heat of the moment. It helps them return calmer and clearer when they return. How it harms them. Their partner can feel abandoned, unimportant, or emotionally single. Aquarius may not realize that consistency is romance. Their ignoring can make someone who loves them feel like they're always auditioning for attention. Chances of moving to mutual closeness. Very good if Aquarius learns to communicate their need for space before disappearing. A simple message like, I need a day to reset, I care about you, changes everything. Aquarius doesn't need to be more emotional, they need to be more reassuring. What ignoring most often ends with for Aquarius? A partner either adapts to the rhythm or leaves quietly. Aquarius is often shocked when someone walks away because Aquarius thought the bond was obvious, but love needs signals. 3 Capricorn, the cold discipline, ignore. Capricorn rarely ignores impulsively. Capricorn ignores strategically. When they feel disappointed, disrespected, or unsure about your long-term value in their life, they go quiet to observe. Capricorn can love you deeply, but they still want stability, maturity, and effort. If they sense drama, inconsistency, or emotional chaos, their instinct is reduce contact, regain structure, evaluate. How Capricorn ignores. They get practical. They stop initiating. They become formal. They reply with, okay, got it, we'll talk later. They might not block you, they'll simply stop giving emotional access. Capricorn also ignores through busyness, work, goals, responsibilities. Sometimes they genuinely are busy, but the emotional distance is real. Why they do it? Capricorn hates feeling foolish. They don't want to chase. They don't want to be the one who needs more. Ignoring becomes a way to protect their pride and test your maturity. They want to see if you'll show up consistently without games. How it helps them. It keeps them grounded. It prevents messy scenes. It gives them time to decide whether the relationship is worth the investment. Capricorn treats love like a building. If the foundation cracks, they pause construction. How it harms them. Capricorn can become emotionally unavailable without noticing. Their partner may feel judged, punished, or constantly measured. Capricorn's silence can make love feel like a performance review where one mistake costs you warmth. Chances of moving to mutual closeness. High if Capricorn learns softness doesn't equal weakness. When Capricorn chooses to speak feelings instead of hiding them behind duty, they become one of the most loyal and safe partners in the Zodiac. What ignoring most often ends with for Capricorn? A serious talk that decides everything. Capricorn doesn't drag it out forever. They either recalm it with structure or quietly close the door. For Cancer, the hurt and shall ignore. Cancer is the sign that loves with its whole nervous system. When they feel safe, they are soft, attentive, nurturing. But when they feel rejected, misunderstood, or unappreciated, Cancer doesn't always fight. Sometimes they vanish into their shell and wait for you to notice the silence. How Cancer ignores. They don't always block or disappear completely. They dim. Short replies, delayed answers, less warmth, less emojis, less tenderness. They may still be nearby, but emotionally unavailable, like a home with the lights off. Cancer can also ignore through passive signals, posting sad quotes, going quiet after being affectionate, acting fine while radiating pain. Why they do it? Cancer wants proof of love, not promises proof. They ignore to see if you'll care enough to reach for them. They want to feel chosen without begging to be chosen. Sometimes they also ignore because they fear confrontation. They worry that speaking honestly will lead to conflict or abandonment. How it helps them. It protects their heart from impulsive reactions. It gives them time to calm down and process. Cancer's ignoring is often self-soothing and emotional retreat that prevents them from saying something they'll regret. How it harms them. People can't read hidden feelings forever. Cancer may assume their partner should just know, but love needs translation. Their silence can create resentment, confusion, and a cycle where the partner either chases endlessly or stops trying. Chances of moving to mutual closeness very high because Cancer wants intimacy more than most. The breakthrough is simple but brave, saying directly, "That hurt me," instead of hoping the other person guesses. When Cancer learns to ask for reassurance openly, they become unstoppable in love. What ignoring most often ends with for Cancer: a reunion fueled by tears and honesty, or a slow emotional drifting apart. Cancer can forgive a lot, but if the silence lasts too long, they quietly detach and protect themselves for good. 5. Virgo. I'll withdraw until ID makes sense. Ignore. Virgo often ignores not to punish you but to regain internal order. When emotions become messy, inconsistent, or illogical, Virgo retreats to process. They may be deeply involved, even obsessed, but they don't want to show it until they understand what's happening and what it means. How Virgo ignores. They become minimal, polite but distant. They may stop initiating, stop flirting, stop feeding the relationship energy. They can also ignore by turning love into logistics, replying only to practical matters while avoiding intimacy. And sometimes Virgo ignores by becoming critical, pointing out flaws rather than admitting fear. Why they do it? Virgo is terrified of choosing wrong. They fear investing in someone unreliable, immature, or emotionally chaotic. If they sense mixed signals, they don't chase, they analyze. Ignoring becomes their way of restoring control. If I step back, I'll see the truth. How it helps them. It prevents overattachment. It protects them from romantic fantasy. It helps them avoid getting dragged into drama. Virgo's silence can be a filter. They want to see who is consistent without constant supervision. How it harms them. Virgo's partner may feel judged, not good enough, or emotionally starved. Virgo can unintentionally create an atmosphere where affection feels conditional, like you must pass tests to receive warmth. And Virgo, meanwhile, may suffer privately because they actually crave closeness but don't want to need it. Chances of moving to mutual closeness. Excellent if Virgo learns to replace silence with clarity. A Virgo who says, "I'm overwhelmed, I care, I need time," becomes safe and steady. Virgo doesn't need to stop analyzing, they need to communicate while doing it. What ignoring most often ends with for Virgo: either a mature relationship with clear boundaries, or a breakup that looks logical, but feels heartbreaking later. Virgo often realizes what they lost only after the emotional dust settles. 6. Leo. The pride freeze. Ignore. Leo loves loudly until pride gets wounded. Then the warmth can snap into a dramatic coldness that feels shocking. Leo's ignoring is often a performance of dignity. They want to appear unbothered even when they're burning inside. How Leo ignores. They go silent after an argument. They stop giving attention. They stop reacting to your messages, your stories, your presence. Sometimes Leo ignores by being socially visible, posting their best life, showing confidence, making sure you see they're fine. It's not always manipulation, sometimes it's self-respect, but it can become a strategy. Why they do it? Leo fears rejection and humiliation. If they feel you didn't value them, didn't choose them, didn't admire them, they withdraw attention, their most powerful currency. Leo's inner logic is, if you don't appreciate me, you don't get me. They also ignore to provoke regret, to make you feel the absence of their warmth. How it helps them. It prevents them from begging. It helps them regain confidence. It gives them time to cool down and restore self-worth. How it harms them. If Leo uses ignoring too often, the relationship becomes a stage where affection is a reward and silence is punishment. Partners may start feeling anxious, always trying to perform correctly. And Leo, underneath it all, may feel lonely because pride keeps them from admitting they miss you. Chances of moving to mutual closeness. Very good if Leo learns that real power is emotional honesty, not emotional disappearance. When Leo says, "That hurt my feelings," instead of freezing you out, love becomes deeper and more loyal. What ignoring most often ends with for Leo: a big romantic return, or a prideful breakup where both people pretend they don't care. Leo can forgive, but they need to feel respected and sincerely chosen. 7. Gemini. The distraction disappear. Ignore. Gemini's ignoring can be the most confusing because it doesn't always look like anger. Sometimes it looks like boredom, or busyness, or a sudden shift in focus. Gemini can adore you, but if emotions become heavy or repetitive, they may escape into movement, conversation, new stimuli. How Gemini ignores. They reply with delays. They change the topic. They vanish for hours or days and return like nothing happened. They might stay connected online but avoid deeper emotional discussions. Gemini often ignores by scattering attention. They don't confront, they drift. Why they do it? Gemini fears emotional stagnation and suffocation. They want relationships to feel alive, light, curious, not like a courtroom. If they sense conflict, they may avoid it to keep things nice. Also, Gemini is highly sensitive to tone. If they feel judged or controlled, they slip away rather than fight. How it helps them? It keeps them from escalating conflict. It preserves their mental balance. It allows them to return with a fresh perspective and calmer energy. How it harms them? It can make partners feel unimportant and unsafe. Gemini's reset might feel like abandonment to someone who needs reassurance. Over time, this pattern can create a relationship where problems never get resolved, only paused. Chances of moving to mutual closeness high if Gemini learns the difference between space and avoidance. Gemini thrives with a partner who communicates clearly and doesn't trap them, but Gemini also must learn that real intimacy includes difficult conversations. What ignoring most often ends with for Gemini, either a playful reconnection or a sudden breakup that seems to come out of nowhere. Gemini can detach quickly if they associate the relationship with heaviness. The astrological truth about ignoring and how it ends. Ignoring is usually a protective spell, but the spell has a price. It teaches love to survive without communication. These 7 signs can absolutely move from silence into secure, mutual relationships when they replace tests with truth. Instead of "if you love me, you'll chase," say "I'm scared. I need reassurance." Instead of punishing silence, choose clear boundaries. Instead of disappearing, give a simple signal. I need time, but I'm not leaving. Because the healthiest love doesn't guess, it doesn't chase, it doesn't beg, it knows. If you want, I can also write a short antidote section for each of these 7 signs, the exact phrase that stops their ignoring pattern and opens real closeness.